Welcome, everybody, to the AI in the Job Search Workshop today, hosted by the Office of Career Services and the Costello College of Business. Today, we're going to be learning how to implement AI tools into the job search, best practices to do that. We'll learn some useful prompts. You will get a chance to try it out yourself. But we are very lucky to be joined by a wonderful co-host today from Stanley Martin Homes. So, Christine, would you like to introduce yourself, what you do, and a little bit about Stanley Martin?
Oh, sure. My name's Christine Neuhaus. I've been with Stanley Martin for a little over 8 years. My title is System Software Manager, but I do basically IT management, manage the support help desk, and I have a team up and down the East Coast where we support our internal employees. I've been in this line of work for 15 years or something like that. Stanley Martin, I've also worked for a previous builder, but Stanley Martin is a new home builder. And yes, we are primarily up and down the East Coast.
Awesome, thanks. So I'll go ahead and get our slides pulled up here. And students, feel free to put questions in the chat at any time and we will answer those. So let me get the slides pulled up. Alrighty, here we go. So let's jump in to the content. So, like I said, during this session, you are going to learn how to utilize some AI tools in your job search, whether that's in the career exploration stage, the cover letter and resume writing stage, how to get past applicant tracking systems, and then also how to prepare for interviews. So these are just some examples of AI platforms that you might use. I know everybody kind of has a favorite. So lots of people use ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, Perplexity. So my advice would be to just kind of try them all out and see which one you like using best, and you'll probably end up having a go-to. This one at the bottom here is Costello Career AI, and this is new. And this QR code is actually what you can scan to gain access. If we have some time at the end, we'll do a little demo, but essentially, once you request access and you log in, this screenshot is what you're going to see on your homepage. And this AI tool will scan your resume, compare it to a job description, and give you concrete areas that you are successful in matching the job description, but then also showcase you the areas that you're maybe a little bit weaker at matching the job description, and then give you suggestions on how to improve that. It will help you with your personal pitch and interview preparation, and it will actually like watch and listen to your responses and then give you personalized, tailored feedback. So this is your last chance before the slides get sent out to you later to scan that QR code so that you can request access to this platform. So for using AI to identify some career paths and how you can apply it to career discovery, you can use it to find your ideal career fit or job titles. It can help you create a career action plan. You can get some ideas for your cover letter or resume. And you can figure out how to answer tough interview questions. And there's even more we can use it for. So before we jump into how we can use it, I think it's important to note the downside of AI use if we use it incorrectly, right? So AI can give ideas, but we absolutely do not want to copy and paste verbatim what the AI tools are giving us. Recruiters can tell. When you're looking at enough resumes and cover letters and emails and messages over and over and over again, and they all start to sound the same, like you can tell that somebody's using it, and that's going to reflect a little bit poorly on you for an application. It's also important to note that AI feedback can be inaccurate. So it's possible if you're just copying and pasting, you're putting something on your resume that's not entirely truthful. And then if that gets found out in the job interview, again, that's going to reflect poorly on you. AI is going to provide the same feedback for the same prompts. So again, that's where we can run into that repetitive information. And AI is also open source. So it is going to take any personal information that you put in there and use it to get smarter. So definitely avoid putting your personal information in there. Christine, I'm curious, have you encountered any situations with potential candidates where you're noticing possible AI use, or even just like in your personal professional, some of the pros and cons of using AI in the professional space?
So personally, I have not noticed that, but we do have a recruitment team that I think does the filtering first.
Yeah.
After they've done the filtering, I then get, what they've done. So I'm sure they see stuff like that.
But then she starts looking through the messages, and they all are like the same exact message, same exact wording, which means somebody's just using AI and copying and pasting and not making it personal or changing it or making it sound like you. And then all those candidates are suddenly like not going to be at the top of the list or even considered because you didn't take the time to tailor it to that specific person or that specific company. So let's like keep that maybe in the back of our mind as we work through the workshop. So here are some examples of how we may use some AI prompts for career exploration. So that could be help me identify potential career paths based on my skills in this. You can list out some of your specific skills and my interests in blank. I'm considering further education, such as a master's degree or certification. What, career benefits and options can I expect from pursuing additional qualifications? What job titles should I explore with my major in business and my concentration in marketing, for example? What majors should I explore if I'm interested in a career in blank? So that's helpful if you're kind of going to reverse engineer it and you know you have a dream job, but you're not sure if what major is the best fit? What DC area companies should I be exploring if I'm interested in X industry? We can incorporate your StrengthsFinder results and strong interest inventory results into this as well, um, and ask for job titles based on those strengths. And US cities as well. So if you're, wondering what's the best place for me to live based on your dream job, then it will provide you with that list of cities. So the career exploration piece is actually my favorite way to use AI tools in the job search. I think it provides like the least amount of risk involved with turning in any materials or sending materials to somebody else that could potentially sound AI generated, but can really help you like narrow down options, give you ideas of things you hadn't heard of before. So this is definitely my favorite. Yeah, does anybody have any experience with using AI for career exploration so far and what the result was? I think my favorite one to do is the like, I'm interested in this, I'm good at this, so like, what are career paths I could pursue? So I think that's definitely my favorite. I think it's also really helpful if you're interested in like making a career pivot or you have a really niche industry or job title that you're seeking, and can help you like kind of pivot or jump from point to point. Okay, so Scott uses it to check alignment between job descriptions and the resume. So yeah, I think that's also a great thing to do before submitting an application is just like running it through real quick and being like, what's missing? What do I need to add? Enzo says, I've used it, well, in an industry to figure out where I can use my strengths to pursue certain roles. Alrighty, so now I want you all to take a minute and I'll set a timer for like 2 minutes. But into your AI platform of choice, you're going to put in one of these two prompts. The first being, what are 20 companies I should explore in the Washington, D.C. area with a degree in blank? And you'll put in your concentration in that area. Or what job titles should I be considering with a degree in business and a concentration in blank if I really liked coursework in this subject? So I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes, and I'd like you all to try that. And then when you're done and you get the result, please feel free to either put it in the chat or unmute and share as well. I'll go ahead and share first to give you a second to either type in the chat or get ready to unmute and share your own results. But for me, I put in, I'm an MBA student. And this was my undergrad degree. I'm interested in this based on like coursework. And so it said like, oh, based on what you studied and like your current position, I could focus on like talent acquisition and recruiting. So that was given, and it gave me a whole giant list of job titles that I could potentially search for in the different job search platforms. So I do see one in the chat here from Lynn. Consulting and Gov Tech, huge MIS demand. So for MIS concentrations, got some companies in here, tech and product companies, marketing and digital strategy firms. Erica has 20 companies to explore in the Washington, D.C. area for finance. So we've got the Capital One, Fannie Mae, JP Morgan Chase. Awesome. So then what I would do after I got the list of companies that it gave me that I should be interested in is then go to each of those companies' career pages and see what they have open, or do they have internship opportunities or things like that. So then using that list, and you can even like ask it to give you maybe ones that are less common or like not as widely known names so that you can maybe learn about some new companies that are out there. And we've got some companies from DAT as well. So we can also use AI for our cover letters. Your cover letter is essentially just additional documentation to support your resume as part of an application. I view it as like persuasive writing. It's here's why you should hire me, but also here's why I want to work for you. So you're expressing your interest in a company or specific role, sharing your qualifications, and we're informing the reader of our purpose of writing. And again, the why here's why you should hire me, basically. It's also just an opportunity to stand out from the competition. Because think about all the times that you've thought, man, I really don't want to write a cover letter right now. Some of those people are not submitting cover letters, but then when you submit a cover letter, it helps you stand out. So let's look at how we can use it in our cover letter writing. So first we have to understand what aspects of the cover letter make it effective. We want to start with a hook sentence. We want it to introduce ourselves and the resume. This is like the only chance we get to kind of showcase our personality at all because the resume is quite cut and dry. And then again, we're able to demonstrate knowledge of the company, share how our qualifications relate to the job. This is especially important if your work experience doesn't necessarily align with the position. Um, Whether that's like, your college jobs or you're making a career pivot, because it's our job as the applicant to demonstrate, like, here's why this is helpful to you. We can't rely on people who have to look through 100 resumes to make those connections for us. Okay. So again, we want to examine output for accuracy. I think this is especially important for using AI tools for things that we will actually be turning in or submitting. And we want to avoid plagiarism, right? So this is the part where it's really important to remember that the same prompts are giving the same responses to everybody. So we don't want to copy and paste. We want to edit it. So some prompts that we can use for the cover letter are, how can I effectively customize a cover letter for this job using this resume? And don't put in your personal information. How do I connect my personal career goals of blank to the mission of this company? And then put in their mission statement on a cover letter. And here's just some more. So like what's the best way I can address any employment gaps? Is there anything I can do to make this cover letter stronger? What keywords from the job announcement should I include in my cover letter? What are some recent articles about this company that you can then read and include in your cover letter? Christine, have you ever read any like really strong cover letters when deciding on who to hire? And were there any aspects of those that really stood out to you in deciding on a candidate?
Um, I hate to say it, but cover letters, they tend to all kind of be similar. Nothing stands out, and I do think that if they put more personal touch to it, that it would. Um, but most of them are very template based.
Yeah. So again, we don't want everybody's to sound the same, right? Because, like, think about how boring that is to have to look through so many and nothing really changes about them. So, you really do need to edit it and make it personal. Because, again, like the resume, we're just listing qualifications. The cover letter, we get to explain a little bit more. You can use the Costello Career AI tool for your cover letter as well. And this is just what that would look like. And here's a cover letter example. So just general formatting tips. We want the header to be the same that's on your resume. We want to use the same font so that all your application materials follow the same branding, so to speak. So we'll have that header with your name and contact info, the date that we're submitting the cover letter. Uh, we put in the address and name of the company we're applying to. This is not where your own personal address goes. And then we've got about 4 paragraphs. One intro paragraph, that's where we do our hook, and it's like the who, what, when, where, why, um, of why we're applying, why we're interested. And then we've got 1 to 2 body paragraphs that highlight specific experiences that relate to the position and why it's important. And then our closing paragraph, thanks for reading. Look forward to speaking with you. So throughout all those paragraphs, at the end of each paragraph, you really want to try and make it as specific as possible and then tie it back to that company. So again, this is great place to flex, like, why are you the best fit? And have you done your research on this company? So in your cover letter, be direct in your desire to work for this specific company. Avoid repeating exactly what's on your resume. You're already submitting the resume, so they have that information. Be brief and concise. Discuss what's unique about the company and why you want to work there, but then also what's unique about you. So, again, this is the only place we get to incorporate aspects of our personality, stand out a little bit more. So, make it unique, use correct punctuation, spelling, and grammar, and make sure you proofread. Or you can have a career advisor proofread, you can schedule an appointment, or attend drop-in hours with our office. So again, we really want to avoid copying and pasting AI generated responses. We are currently recruiting for a position in our office, and I'm on the search committee, and I've looked through a lot of resumes and cover letters lately, and I started to notice a trend that in like every like third or fourth paragraph in the cover letters, everybody was suddenly like really impressed by the Costello College of Business's interest in emphasizing experiential learning. And I just thought that was interesting that I started to notice that pattern in several cover letters, like enough to the point where you recognize it. So, like, we know everybody's using AI to help, but you have to change it because even as something as little like that, when you're looking through so many, starts to stand out. So don't just assume any company information is that's provided by AI is correct. You should always fact check that by checking their company social media pages or website. So let's talk about using AI on the resume. So the biggest red flag hiring managers look for in job candidates is an AI generated resume. So don't just have ChatGPT make you a resume and then submit it because you have no idea what's on there, right? And we can't be like making up information about ourselves and submitting it.
Yeah, I will add that when I'm doing interviews, I will find something on the resume and ask them about it to make sure they have knowledge of what they're saying they know about.
Yeah, that's like a perfect example. And students, you heard it here. Everything on the resume should be truthful. Because if you get asked about something in a job interview that's on your resume that you didn't actually do or you don't know anything about, they're gonna know. And that's not gonna look great for you. So again, we have to make sure that everything that's on there is truthful about ourselves. Here's another quote here from a district director of recruitment at Robert Half. If you use AI to write a resume for you in minutes, it tells me that you didn't put a lot of time and thought into applying to my job. And I think that's so true. Is like, I think in terms when we're looking at applying to jobs, right? It is definitely a quality over quantity situation. Of course, you have to keep application numbers up in this day and age. But the quality is so important because when you're looking through applicants for a position, you can always tell when somebody has made sure that it's tailored to that specific job and when somebody's using the same exact resume and cover letter for every single job and just like mass applying. So we'll keep that in mind as well. So once again, we're avoiding plagiarism, protecting our personal information, and examining for accuracy. So let's look at some of the prompts that we could use for our resume. So first one is like help me incorporate keywords from this job posting into my resume. You can put in the job description in the resume. Um, my go-to is just like pasting the job description and being like, okay, what are the most important keywords or phrases from this job announcement that I need to mention in my resume? And then I'll go in myself and find the sections that make the most sense to include those things. Because a lot of times, like, you think that you've got everything and that it's a good match, but chances are you probably missed something and you may have experience in that thing and then just forgot to put it on there. So I think that's a good thing to run through first. How can I tailor my resume to best fit the requirements of this specific position? You can have it help you write a professional summary for a specific industry or job title. You can have it help you with adding quantifiers to your bullet points because it's really important to make sure we're quantifying our achievements on the resume. So instead of saying like, um, created reports for my supervisor, we could say like, oh, created 5 different weekly reports for my supervisor to assist with streamlining processes. I don't know. But that provides a lot more context and scale to the accomplishment than the original statement. So you can have it help you quantify those achievements. This is just some of the things that Costello Career AI tool will help you with for your resume. It will help you with the formatting, with like a template that's helpful, that's ATS friendly, with the text size, the line spacing, the margins. It will help you optimize everything in terms of space. I think AI is super helpful in figuring out if your resume will pass an applicant tracking system. If you haven't heard of an applicant tracking system, this is essentially the system that most companies are using. Not all, but I would say a fair amount are using some form of an ATS to filter applicants based on the job description that's put in. Or not, I don't know if filter is the right word, but it's just matching up applicants to that job description and giving them a score. Um, and while like legally, a human being has to be the one to look at your resume and say no. The ATS is helping a lot of people figure out who are the best applicants, right? And we want to get you through that applicant tracking system to be a best applicant. So you can use things like Costello Career AI, JobScan, SkillSyncer to help figure out is my resume ATS friendly and ready to get through that system and help me stand out. And formatting is a really big piece of that. So like a lot of times if we're using like a Canva template or anything that could be considered an image on the resume, so think like text boxes or pictures, ATS is going to have a really hard time reading that content. And so you may not make it through. Even if you've put words in there that match the job description, it may not be able to parse that text. So, and that context is important. The content you have in there is important. So formatting is really, really important. So we can help you with that. These AI tools can help you with that. We just want to make sure formatting's good to go. So before we move on to how to use AI in preparing for an interviews, are there any questions about using AI tools on the resume or cover letter? Or has anybody used this before to help with their resume and cover letter? Did it help you? Anything to share before we move on? So let's talk about how we can use AI to help us prepare for interviews. So, uh, again, you can pick your favorite AI tool. Oh, we do have something in the chat. Okay, how do you think the job application process will change if AI becomes standard for both applicants and recruiters? I think the job application process definitely would change if AI became standard for both applicants and recruiters. But I think we're kind of seeing it now in that it will kind of go full circle. And like it'll be too streamlined and that there's gonna be like it's still an influx of applicants because everybody's making it through the ATS then, and recruiters are actually going to want to go back to like word of mouth and referrals. I still think that's the strongest way to land something is by like who you actually know. So that's why networking is super important and who you know. So that's I think we're already kind of heading in that direction. I think we're seeing that. Christine, I saw you nodding there a little bit.
Yeah,
Have you seen that?
definitely who you know, because I'll take that over, a stack of resumes. I'm interested in somebody that somebody suggested.
Yeah, 100%. And I actually just heard from a student today where I had provided a referral for a position, but then the hiring manager actually wanted to go with a former intern for this role, uh, somebody they already knew. So it really goes to show like the weight that like who you know is going to matter more than maybe the application at any given time. So, with that, if that's the case, then what do you guys think are some of the best ways to network for new applicants without nepotism? So, best ways to network for new applicants, I think, would be to find those that are in the company that you're interested in, or if there's not a specific company, then just finding people with the role title that you want to be doing or something adjacent and just reaching out and seeing if you can schedule like an informational interview. Like what do you do on a day to day? How do you enjoy working where you work? How did you get there? Do you have any additional certifications? Things like that. And I think targeting those who also went to George Mason or the Costello College of Business is a really good place to start because you already have something in common. So that's what I would say.
And
Um,
you mentioned interning, and that's definitely a way to get started building your network.
yeah, like a lot of the people I have, I think in my professional circle are from like interning places. So I think that's one of the best ways. So, keeping in the same vein of that human interaction piece and that how that's still quite important, is we can use the AI tools to help us prepare and be our most successful selves in an interview. So some prompts for this are like, how can I prepare for common interview questions in this specific job role? One of my favorite ways to use it is to just ask for like 10 practice interview questions and then put in the job description or that job title. I think that's a good way to get like tailored practice questions beyond kind of the standard, like, tell me about a time you overcame a challenge, which like is still a good one to practice, but they may phrase it differently depending on the job title, right? What STAR statements, which is situation, task, action, and result. What STAR statements can I use in an interview to communicate my experience in this role using this resume for guidance? We've got some more here. And again, the slides will be emailed to you so you can use some of these later on. But like, what are some strengths I can address using my resume when interviewing for this specific job? Like, what are some keywords I should mention? What do I need to know about this company before I go into my job interview? Because we've heard from a lot of professionals that like the number one thing that's missing when students are going in for interviews is that they have no idea like what or who they're interviewing for, and they actually don't know anything about the company. So doing your research ahead of time is super important. So you can also use like the AI tools as a way to research. And then again, Costello Career AI can help you with the interview. You can put in, so it has some examples here like, oh, I'm interviewing for a marketing intern position with a residential home builder company, and it's going to be a 15-minute phone screen. And then you can click start mock interview, and then it will actually come up with like tailored questions to ask you based on what you put in. So it'll be tailored to that specific position in the company. And then it will watch and listen to your responses and then give you tailored feedback later. So, if anything, I feel like it's really awesome practice, like answering questions on the fly when you don't know what the question is going to be. Because you can look up practice questions all day long and like write it down. And of course, that's still good preparation, but it's another thing to actually be like sitting down and practicing answering those questions out loud when you didn't get to look at it before. You can also use it for technical interviews. So if you're somebody who's interested in more of the technical roles, so maybe our management information systems students, then this might be a good option for you as well. You can see they've got some role titles up there like product designer, product manager, UX researcher, and you can do a tailored practice round that have more technical questions. So again, like AI is not going to replace that like mock interview feel, because you're always going to be interviewing at the end of the day with a real person, especially if you're, getting at least to like the second, third round of an interview, that's going to be with somebody. Some companies are using like recorded interviews or AI interviews for that first round to kind of screen applicants. But if you're going to get the job, you will be interviewing with a person. But it can give you some ideas for answering those common interview questions. So, looking at introducing ourselves, that's kind of like the first part of the interview process, right? Um, it's usually the first question is like, oh, tell us about yourself and why you're interested in this position. But you may also need to introduce yourself at like a career fair or a networking event. And that's usually what we call our personal or elevator pitch. And this needs to be short. Um, we have the bullet here, be brief, be brilliant, be gone. We want to be memorable, but we don't want to take up too much of somebody's time. So ideally, this is 60 seconds or less. You want to introduce yourself by your name, what you're studying, or like what you want to do professionally, share something unique. We want to identify ourselves in terms of the most relatable or relevant skills or strengths. And then we also want to invite further conversation with the person we're talking to, right? So asking a question at the end is usually the best way to do this. Again, the Costello Career AI tool can help you with this. And it will watch and listen to your responses and then give you tailored feedback on how to improve. So before going into an interview, I would say start with the AI tools to get that preliminary prep done. But then absolutely schedule an appointment with a career advisor for a mock interview so that you can actually practice answering those questions with a real person. But you can also research company interview questions on like Glassdoor. People will put questions that they were asked in the interview, and I think that's a really great way to prepare as well. Christine, did you ever have any like really strong interview experiences, like when you knew you were going to select a candidate? And at what point in the interview did you know, like, yeah, I'm probably going to hire this person?
Uh, let's see, it's an interesting question. So usually, you hear their experience, their knowledge, and then you start to get a chemistry. So you have a good conversational flow. And then you realize, you have to be able to work with this person. So you're getting along during the interview. It tells you that you're going to get along once you hire them. So I've had a couple that I was like, this is the one. I've had some that I was like, this is absolutely not the one because
Mm.
they said my father made me interview for this job, like something like that. So I've had the opposite as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I bet. But yeah, I feel like that just goes to show that like being prepared for that actual person to person interaction is so important. Um, but something I like to say about interviews is that like, and you can correct me on this, Christine, I feel like employers are looking for really two things at the end of the day. The first is, can this person do the job? And you're largely getting that from the resume and cover letter, probably. And then the second thing is, do I want to do the job with this person? So that's like what you mentioned of like, do I want to interact with you every day? Do I want you on my team? Do I have to micromanage you? That
And
kind
the
of
other
stuff.
one is communication skills as well. So
Yeah.
especially if they're doing any type of customer facing, I want to make sure they're communicating well. So that's another thing I'm looking
Mm.
for. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I think that's all the actual like material that we had today covering how to use AI in career exploration, your job search, resume and cover letter, interview preparation. So before we wrap up today, does anybody have any questions on the content that was covered, anything that we missed, or if anybody has any questions about what it's like to work at Stanley Martin or any questions for Christine in general before we wrap up? And
Uh,
feel free to put that in the chat or unmute.
I have a question.
Sure.
The AI tool that you showed,
Mhm.
the Theo, is that available on George Mason or is that a different website?
You have to request access through the QR code that was up on the slide. And let me go back and find that here for you. So if you scan that QR code with your phone, you can request access and then we will like manually upload you into the system. And then you'll receive an email that says like, oh, I've invited you to use Theo. And it'll prompt you to log in and make an account.
Got it. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, let's see. What would you consider some appropriate inquiries or reactions to make if one doesn't get an opportunity? For example, getting rejected from a position. I know what I would recommend. Christine, what would you feel like are appropriate ways to reach out if maybe somebody didn't get the position from you or somewhere else, but they wanted to still like keep in touch and stay involved on any possible upcoming opportunities?
I think, obviously you can ask questions of, why, what are things that I could work on to get a position in the future. And, I'm still interested, please keep me in consideration for other job opening.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
they should be able to answer the reason of why, and sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, there was someone that had maybe just a little bit more knowledge than you did. So you could very well be right up there in line for the next opening.
100%. I feel like you never want to have like bad blood with anybody, especially in the professional world. It can be quite small, and so and you know, just because you didn't get that job doesn't mean you couldn't get another job in the future. So you don't want to send like a nasty email being like, I hate you. Why didn't you give me this job? You can say, I really appreciate the opportunity to interview. I'm really interested in working with you. Like, I'd love to be considered for upcoming opportunities and keep that person in the loop. Would it be possible for you to send us the slides via email? Yep, all participants, if you checked in through Handshake, you will get the slides so that you can access all of those wonderful prompts. And last question from Enzo. What would be a tip or lesson you have learned and would like to share from your experience in your job search or searches?
I imagine this is a question for everyone else attending.
Or I guess when you landed your position, Christine, were there any sort of like best practices you felt like you had or where you found the most success?
Let's see. So it was mostly, it's like networking, but more name dropping or someone who knows someone, and you
Mm,
bring up those experiences and um, just having a good communication, conversation. I think when I got hired, they tried to, and it was before they had the big recruiting
mm,
they have now, but they waited for HR to reach out to me, but they did not. So my hiring manager reached out to me directly and asked, and I said, sure, I'll come in, and we kind of went around the loop and had the interview. Now I understand it. It's much harder getting through the ATS and stuff like that.
yeah, awesome. Alrighty. Well, we mentioned the importance of networking. So if you're looking for some networking opportunities, we do run two different LinkedIn groups. The one on the left is Costello Career Collective. That is for current students, alumni, friends of the community. You can ask questions in there, find people to reach out to. And then the one on the right is specifically for our international student population. So that's going to be current students and alumni as well from the Costello College of Business. So definitely recommend joining those. And I would also recommend keeping updated on our social media pages. This is how you're going to stay updated on our upcoming events, any internship or job openings, employer events, all the important stuff. So please stay connected with us both on Instagram and our LinkedIn page if you're not already. If anybody has any additional questions, then feel free to stay on for just a second and ask that. But otherwise, thank you so much for attending today's workshop. And a huge thank you to Christine as well from Stanley Martin Homes for sharing some wonderful insight and advice today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.